And welcome back to another episode of Won't Be Silent with an honored guest, Samantha Ettus, who I have discovered post LA fires on social media as I call her a superhero. So, Samantha, thank you for joining me.
It is such an honor for me to be here, Abe. So thank you.
So, Samantha and I have two things in common, probably more.
So many more.
True. One is that we're both running for the Jewish Future slate number 20 in the World Zionist Congress. And two, we both have 917 area code phone numbers.
Oh yeah, that's a big source of pride.
Not giving that
Never
up.
giving that up.
It's like that episode of Seinfeld when, Elaine was afraid of losing her 212 phone number. Did you ever see that one? Hilarious. Anyway, so, briefly, just how did you get involved with the World Zionist Congress, and what is, in your mind, our real goal to have a voice in the Congress going forward?
Well, first of all, I'm so excited to be talking about it because I think I haven't even spent enough time talking about it. And it's such an incredible opportunity for all Americans, for all Jews in the diaspora to even understand what it is and the fact that we get to vote on it and have an impact. So the World Zionist Congress is basically controls the largest budget to fight anti-Semitism and promote Jewry outside of Israel. It's over $1 billion in this incredible budget, and the craziest part about it, and I'm sorry, I'm like all over the place because it's in typical Israeli fashion. It's confusing. Okay, so in the U.S. we have two parties. There's Republicans and Democrats, and then you might be off on the Green Party, but really there's two parties. In Israel, there are 21 or 22 slates, which you can think of as parties, okay? And Abe and I, are part of slate number 20, which is the Jewish Future. But what that means when you vote for a slate, it's not like you're voting for Abe Gurko or Samantha Ettus. You're not voting for a particular person. You're voting for a slate. Our slate happens to be a very centrist slate, which is what appealed to both of us, I think, about joining. But it's very confusing.
Especially after November 5th.
Right. Exactly. Now that we're all politically homeless, I like to say, but I mean, it's candidate by candidate for me, at least. But I think that what's so confusing about it is you're not voting for a person, you're voting for a slate. And then based on how many votes that slate gets is how many seats of the 152 seats in the Congress our slate gets. So we might go to the World Zionist Congress in October with 5 seats. We might go with 50 seats. It's all based on how many votes we get. And there's only 1 week left of voting. So it's really pivotal. First of all, I really hope that the number one thing we can do is increase voting, because 5 years ago, the last time the World Zionist Congress met, less than 2% of American Jews voted. And we would love to increase that number. Especially because it's the first World Zionist Congress post October 7th. So as we all know, especially North American Jews have woken up finally, and we realize that this is so critical. So we're running on slate number 20. I am super proud of our slate. I think it embodies the values I had. And to answer in a very long-winded way your original question, Eve, which was how I got involved, I was actually recruited to be part of a different sort of high profile slate, which had a lot of my friends on it. And I didn't realize it was an Orthodox agenda slate. I don't even know that all of my friends who were on it realized that. But about 8 of the slates are very religious. And it was important to me not to mesh religion and politics in this situation. I really just cared about fighting anti-Semitism and promoting the Hebrew language, promoting Jewish education, getting more Jews to visit Israel. And those were all things that were embodied by the Jewish Future slate number 20.
The other couple of things that I think are important about the moment we're finding ourselves, and the fact that we're like apolitical. I mean, there are people in the party that are politically on all different sides, but our mission is to not be involved in American politics or Israeli politics. We're here to be very focused. One of the things I really want to be part of championing is allocating budgets to kind of take a campaign, a PR campaign on the word Zionism, the same way that, just I really feel like it's like almost we have to look at it as like a political movement to kind of own back who we are. I think, and we should run it like politics in terms of just owning that word. What does that mean? So how do things like certain things that are successful campaigns, like, you know, Calvin Klein used Brooke Shields and made jeans like the thing, right? And then you had the bad example of Make America Great Again. It was a campaign. It was a political, social, cultural initiative to kind of use language in a way that kind of people can get engaged with that. I think that would be really not the only thing, because I really think it's important, especially the money that we allocate in Israel is for PTSD, because the country is going through such, I mean, I have friends that I'm going to start crying
I mean,
just.
even today with the fires, it's just,
Which
it's,
I thought of you, this, I thought we'd have to cancel because of it if I brought back like PTS. I mean, I
well,
can't
it
even
did
imagine what that
honestly,
day
because
was.
I woke up today to a lot of messages from people in Israel asking me what they should bring with them when they evacuate, because they knew I'd gone through the Palisades fire. It's
Of course.
just crazy. It's like, how many battles can Israel fight at one time? It's just unreal.
I feel like here's how I try to not be too fatalist, but I try to look at like everything as a teaching moment. That's my trajectory, that's my book, that's my life. And how do we make our lives so that by the time it's done, you mattered, you know? And I feel like we lost 6 million Jews in the war to get Israel. Like that had to happen. It's not like we could go back in history and change anything. And I think history is trying to repeat itself now. And I think people like you, and I interviewed one of the girls on our slate who's 18 years old, and she's like, if all 18-year-olds were as clear and committed to their path, it just, I believe it's out there. I believe some of the programs we can support are youth groups that have this, like Young Judea Plus, you know what I mean? Not just talking, but actually all the physicality, kind of the way in Israel, everyone automatically goes for 2 years. Well, it's the army, which is not what we would want to have here, but some kind of community engagement, something that really makes people feel a commitment to our peoplehood. And it has to start young, and we have to invest in our next generation, because we're all
Yeah.
towards the end of my experience here, you know.
Well, no, I mean, that's what we're all doing, I think. And it's interesting because I don't think we appreciated how easy our lives were in terms of, growing up as a Jew. And, you know, there were a lot of people in my life who've experienced anti-Semitism, but nothing of the scope that we're seeing today. There is not a Jewish child who is growing up today who is unaware of anti-Semitism and walking through the world as a Jew and the dangers of being Jewish today. And that is so sad, obviously, that our kids are being raised with a discomfort and a sort of safety issue that we didn't have. But at the same time, I think we, in many ways, are stronger because of it. I mean, I know, for example, our community, Abe, I'm saying our, because our collective influencer community, people who have become activists post October 7th, is incredibly strong. We just need thousands more of us, right? Like we don't need 100 of us. We need thousands and hundreds of thousands of us. But I do believe that this moment in time, even just as you mentioned with Zionism and taking back control of the word Zionism, like no one is ever saying to someone from Albania, we really love Albanians, but we just don't believe Albania should exist. And no Albanian.
No, it's a good
If I'm
example.
Albanian, I just don't believe in Albania. But we still have Jews saying, I'm a Jew. I'm just not like a Zionist Jew. And they're not realizing it's literally the same thing as an Albanian saying, I'm just not into Albania. It's absurd. And, we can attack the word and we can blame the word, but at the end of the day, it's just that we have enemies and they'll attack us from any angle. And I think one of the things that has been so difficult, but at the same time encouraging to me, is that in the last few weeks, and I do credit the movie October 8 with some of this, we're exposing just how deep and broad a brainwashing campaign Iran has been running against the Jews for over 25 years. And that is why you see pro-Palestinian students on campus. That is why there are encampments. It's not an accident. And I think it's we broke it up.
I actually think October 7th was actually part of the plan.
Oh, 100%.
Because all the tents were ready and all this and the banners and like it was like, and I call these, I call the Palestinian terrorists, the Hamas terrorists, they're like a bunch of fashion week queens because they have their banners ready, they're like their gift bags. It's like it doesn't get gayer than having your event all organized and sewn up tight, like when they released the hostages.
Just as long as they don't recruit you, Abe, to run their events.
No, but as a refugee from that business, I could spot that in my own.
No, I'm like, do not bring your background to the other team, please.
No. On the contrary, that's part of what we want to do with the group that we're part of, which is kind of doing events and kind of cool activations, because we're stronger in numbers, of course, but when we're galvanizing important groups of people that would normally never communicate. I mean, this is what's invaluable, is the kind of community we are building as activists. I mean, I was anti-Vietnam War from 7th grade. I was like, I closed down my grade school. So this to me is like a natural progression. But I believe assimilation of Jews in America is almost like a cancer, and not everyone's going to survive that. I got better when the Nazis were marching in Charlottesville. That's when my healing started, because my parents were gone, and I was like, they did not go through, something's not right here. So that by the time and then, politically, social media wise, the Trump 2020 was like, that's how I galvanized all my hundreds of thousands of voters, because it was like, rah, But, the world's changed since 2020, and now it's really gotten horrible since 23. And I just want to applaud your consistent messaging on social media. It's like, where do you get, I mean, you're just like really a special addition to the community. And
I mean, I think we all have our place, and for me, I was really not prepared to play any sort of activist role before October 7th. I was a Hebrew school dropout. I had been a competitive athlete, and so
me too.
to drop out of Hebrew school so I could play tennis more. And my dad was an atheist, and my mom was kind of like a bitter yeshiva kid, and I really knew so little. And
are you from? You're from New York?
I'm from New York City. Yeah. And on October 7th, my son was bar mitzvahed. And, the next day was a day that typically I would have spent posting cute pictures and, talking about the part. It was suddenly clear that something horrible had happened. And I thought, okay, I'll just post about the horrors for a few days and then go back to my regularly scheduled social media account, which was my latest cute dress or my speaking engagement. And I suddenly realized like there was no going backwards for me. And to play this role, I sort of thought I was playing the role until the grownups arrived, the experts, and they never showed up. And so I started reading voraciously. I would read like another Israel book every other day and just educated myself on what I needed to know to play the role. And then I sort of found my place as someone who could interpret the news, because I needed someone to say to me, like just today, I posted a video about the arsonists in Canada, in Israel, and it was about Canada Park. And it's like, I need to look up and make sure, and I share with people like Canada Park is near Jerusalem. These are all things that I think sometimes when you're reporting, you take for granted. I take none of it for granted because I'm learning along with my audience. Right. So I sort of found my niche as someone who could deliver the daily news. And there's so much incorrect news and misinformation that I'm just trying to keep people apprised of what's going on. And I happen to have a large audience of non-Jews as well. Right. So that's been really important to me to educate non-Jews on what's happening.
Yeah, because even you don't have to be Jewish to read the Jews letter, I understand.
Exactly.
So yeah, well, look, it's just a pleasure to be in the same under the same umbrella and scope with you. And we'll see. I think American Jews and world Jewry will benefit from the kind of mindset we both come from. I mean, we're both committed partners. I don't like the word allies anymore. I don't use allies. To me, the word ally is restricted to those who fought alongside America to free, to get out of World War II. And ever since then, I feel I've been abandoned by so many of the people I thought were my allies. And but partners and peoplehood are the two words that I look for as I move forward into this challenging moment that we're being called for. And I just say this to everybody, if you're Jewish especially, find your spine of steel. We come from Moses. We come from the greatest fighters, and we have to just own up to that. We have to admire that in ourselves. It's in there. We have to remember it. And this is that
Along
moment.
those lines, Abe, I mean, people will say to both of us all the time, oh, I don't know how you're so brave. And I like to say, the braver you are, the less brave we have to be. We're all an ecosystem, and
Well,
it's really true.
but don't you feeling brave it's just great. I mean, I went to the Jewish Filmmakers Network the other night, where actually we talked about October 8th, and the more was there, and in the whole room was like 60 people, and everyone was talking. It was a really lovely moment, and I felt compelled to just stand up and say, who here's parents survived the Holocaust? And nobody in the room. It was grandparents, great grandparents. I said, until you're the son of a Holocaust survivor and you see what everyone is going through here, we got this. And you have to remember that it's your spine of steel that we all have, because it's in our DNA. You have to find it and love it, and it's brave and it feels great. And this woman came up to me and she goes, I'm so sorry that your parents had. I said, my parents surviving the Holocaust is the best part of me.
Right.
Own that. Be that. That's the teaching moment. That's our teaching moment. And you have aced plus the moment. And thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing Breaking Bread in Israel in October.
I can't wait. That's going to be so much fun. I'm actually going to Israel on Sunday, God willing, with the fires and everything, but I'm going Sunday and I'm really excited about it.
Fun. Excellent. Well, you have a wonderful week, and thank you. And I'll, next things up.
Thanks for all that you do, Abe. And by the way, I can't wait to read your book. Can you hold it up for everyone?
Oh, yeah. It's called Won't Be Silent, Don't Stop Till It Matters. And now, in moments like this, I matter.
Okay, well, I'm putting in my queue.
Good. You'll love it. It's hilarious. You'll laugh, you'll cry. It's better than Cats. That's all.
I hope so.